Welcome to Laura's View and Tarot Tube. I'm really glad you're here. Today's date is Saturday, January 21st, 2023. And in this video, I want to explore a topic that came to my attention today. And I will show you, well, the title already told you because I know what I'm going to use for my title. It's Katie Hobbs seems to be wearing a medical boot. Now, if you are not too familiar with our political situation here in the United States, Katie Hobbs was a candidate for governor in the state of Arizona, and she wasn't very popular, but she was also in charge of the whole counting the votes. She didn't excuse herself from that process because she was a candidate. No. In fact, if she had, I'm sure we wouldn't be having all the follow-up court cases that are happening to try to rectify that situation. There's even, she was in the counting room by herself. I mean, there were so many shenanigans that went on with that. Oh, well, why am I even surprised? We haven't had fair elections in so long in our country. So when I can't be surprised, sometimes I can be amused. And I wanted to show you a picture of Miss Hobbs sporting a medical boot. 1 second. This was shown earlier today. I apologize for the Pepe in the picture, but it was the best one that showed the boot because the mainstream media is trying to do their best to keep that low key. Now, if she had a genuine medical reason for having it, don't you think they would be talking about what that was and not trying to camouflage it in the pictures? Miss Hobbs is in good company. I'm going to be scrolling back and forth, so if that bothers you, wait till I say the name of the next picture. In the past, No Name McCain wore one. So did HRC. '46 has also been seen with one. In fact, I think it has been on both of his legs at one time or another, just within days of one another. Not to be outdone, here is 46's wife, Jill. She's sporting one. Then we have the suddenly slim Mike Pompeo wearing one. HRC's daughter got in on it too. Here's Chelsea wearing a medical boot. That's just a few. I found a picture of Mr. Schwarzenegger wearing one and others. Now I realize sometimes medical boots are necessary. My daughter has tendonitis and she has something similar for her tendonitis. So I'm not claiming that every picture I showed you is one of those humorous boots that means someone has had to account or is going to be accounting for some shenanigans. But I think a lot of them are. So let's ask the cards, okay? I'm gonna ask the universe. The medical boot seen today or recently, I'll say recently in case it wasn't today, on Katie Hobbs, the supposed governor of Arizona. By the way, Katie, what's up with all these planes you're sending to blue states? You sending out some of those illegals, huh? On the taxpayer dime? Thank you. Can't wait till we get things fixed around this world. Okay, so we're going to ask the universe. The medical boot sign on Miss Hobbs, is it indicative of legal proceedings that she is and will continue to be involved in for shenanigans and other information the universe wants us to know? Let's find out. So Governor Hobbs, the medical boot you're sporting, we're asking the universe if it's connected to legal proceedings that you're going to be caught up in? Is it hiding an ankle monitor, in other words? And is there other information the universe wants us to know? Okay, we have the Page of Cups, Seven of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Page of Swords, Queen of Swords, Page of Wands, lots of pages, and the Three of Swords. So we didn't get a hard yes with a ace showing up here at this point in the read, but our question was indicated by the Page of Cups. Okay, we were asking if the medical boot that Miss Hobbs was seen wearing has to do with legal proceedings that she'll be involved in. And we're getting a yes because, now remember, swords are the written and spoken word. Okay, they are the justice suit. So we have lots of swords showing up here. Okay, this one, the one where he's trying to get away with what he can, kind of indicates a situation. She's hoping we won't question that medical boot. Okay, so the Page of Cups is interesting too, showing up here because he's a connection one. So yeah, she's connected to an ankle monitor. Oh, which is a nice gift for us, okay? For those of us who are tired of having shenanigans in our balloting and what have you. And she's hoping to get away with it. Let's see how this works out for her. In the recent past, we have the Four of Pentacles showing up. Now that is about being kind of miserly and careful with your resources. And how that works out in this reading. Well, Miss Hobbs thought she was careful to cover her tracks. And you can see his feet's trying to cover those. And she tried to pay her way into where she's at. Or thought it had paid well for her. Still, the truth will out. Always, always. Okay. So even though she thought she'd been careful, that was not the case. And her troubles are going to continue to plague her. Okay, the Page of Swords is showing up for the current situation. Again, swords are our justice suit. Okay. And with the Page of Swords, that's one of truth. So the truth will come out, absolutely, about the shenanigans, the ankle monitor, and everything else. Let's look ahead to the near future and see if we can get any idea of what and when, how that's going to show up. Queen of Swords is showing up again, the justice suit, okay? And this queen is on her throne. She is rendering a judgment, quite obviously, okay? So the Queen of Swords is known to be objective and clear thinking. So cooler heads will prevail and the justice will be served. We're having a little bit of advice and clarification here, some further insights about the situation. First of all, with the Page of Swords, or Wands, pardon me. Remember, he's one of my little unofficial white hat cards. And the Page is one of cautious optimism, okay? So we can be cautiously optimistic that this situation with her balloting irregularities may, in the near future, have some clarity and transparency and honesty shared with us about it. It's not going to be easy because with the Three of Swords, we have heartache. And I know that the good voters in Arizona have had their share of it with this whole shenanigans balloting they had to deal with, especially. Okay, but I like to think that the heartache's also going to be for Miss Hobbs, as she is truly made to account for her actions. And yeah, let's get a couple other cards and see what they have to tell us. Wheel of Fortune. So don't worry, folks. her fortune is changing. It landed on top of her here. And so currently she seems to be the governor, but that is not going to remain the case. Okay. And Lady Justice has a lot of strength on her side. And so justice is going to prevail. Okay. I can't tell you when because the cards aren't really good on when. You know, we can ask Will about celebrations a few months in advance or what have you and get some indication of that, but not the exact when. You know, alt media tells us that in Canada, Justin Castro, he traded in his ankle monitor medical boot for an implant that allows him to be tracked and kept tabs on. So if Miss Hobbs' boot goes away fairly soon, then maybe she opts for that too. I don't know if that's something that is on offer to all our boot wearers or not. But it's always interesting to note when those boots appear, especially when they still seem to walk on them great, or they switch sides. Was it 46 or No Name that did that? I don't know, but it's humorous when it does. Okay, now that's it for this video, but I do have an afterword for you that may end up actually also be a separate video. So if you were here for the political read, that concludes it. I thank you so much for your time, for spending some of it with me. Very, very much. I do not take you for granted. So if you're a subscriber, welcome. If you had to resubscribe, which happens, welcome back. And let's just keep those smiles going, okay? And let's manifest honesty in our world and truth, and an end of games from either side of the aisle, so that we have real people doing real work for us and accepting real responsibility to account for that work. Where if someone is facing consequences, it's just public knowledge, and we can follow up and follow along as we're interested. So White Hat and Alliance. Our ultimate job is to work ourselves out of a job, clean up this mess, get humanity back on track, and then start exploring this beautiful world that we have just waiting for us to enjoy and be part of, without worrying about shenanigans and little ones and all the other things that we worry about. Till next time, thank you. Okay, now the afterword. This seems so important to me. I think I'll probably do a separate video, but I wanted to give you some homework tonight. I had a friend that came over yesterday. Her name is Dina. And Dina and her family have practiced their entire lives something they simply call the ask. Now, I realize there is probably some big term for this that I'm not giving you new information. But Dina tells me that anybody can do the ask. Now, you'll need to be kind of in touch with your higher self. So you may not get the response you're wanting the first time you try it, but your homework is going to be to develop your skills at the ask. And if you do it right, anytime you hear news, you'll be able to ask yourself, can I believe this fact? Anytime someone tells you this is a good buy, you can ask yourself, is that true? Dina uses it even in grocery stores when she's reading ingredient lists. She holds the item near her solar plexus and just quietly asks herself, is this ingredient going to be good for me? Now, let me explain what it is. I've already told you, you're going to keep the item you're talking about, if it's an item, near your solar plexus, okay? With the ask, you stand straight, legs a little bit apart, so you're not leaning and wobbling back and forth, okay? Your body is going to tell you yes by slightly dipping forward on a yes/no question and no on a no answer. It's going to dip backwards, okay? Dina handed me her car keys and she said, hold them near your solar plexus. And she said, "Are those your car keys?" And my body went back. She said she wasn't surprised, since I kind of tap into my intuitive side, that the first time it worked for me, but it did work, and I was not making myself move backwards. So I spent all night asking thousands of questions and just enjoying that connection to the universe, okay, through my higher self, which is what you would be. So that's who you would be contacting, is your higher self. And if you think about how our higher self is above and beyond our body, and they can talk with others and get, that cosmic information. And that's who I always say when I use the tarot cards, I am simply communicating with my higher self or getting insights from our loving creator. I don't channel specific people. Now, somebody on the other side of life could talk to my higher self, and my higher self can send it back to me. She's like my booking secretary, my office manager, but I don't ever want to invite an energy into myself that might end up being hard to get rid of, that might be an attachment. So that explains a little bit about my process and how that's a little different than some other people's, possibly with tarot cards. But let's get back to the ask. Okay. Dina had a great story. She said she was working in a nursery last year and she found a plant that had sprung up spontaneously in one of the potting things. So she asked the plant, "Are you a weed?" And the plant said no. And then she realized she needed to clarify, just like sometimes with the tarot cards, I have to be real clear about what I'm asking. So she asked the plant, would people who knew what type of plant you were consider you to be a weed? And the answer was yes. And then she asked, will you be a flowering plant? And she got a yes. And since she said it was going to flower, she decided to give it its own pot, and it didn't die. But that's your homework. Stand up, hold things at your solar plexus, and ask questions about them that require a yes or no answer, or that you'd be expecting a yes or no answer. And start simple. One thing I notice sometimes when I do tarot cards, when I was trying to hone my skills, I would ask the tarot cards questions I knew the answers to, and in my experience, the universe didn't have a whole lot of patience with that. Last night, with that process called the ask, the universe seemed to have, or my higher self had, huge patience with even silly questions. In the background here, hold a roll of paper towels and say, is this toilet paper? Would I use this as toilet paper? Now, for me, that'd be no. But ask your questions, learn, okay? Build up this skill. I see this as something we can put in our toolbox just as much as we are beginning to learn how to manifest and shape our reality with our thoughts and positivity. And this will help us with our discernment. You may put a lot of tarot readers out of business, but for sure, as people are telling you that they're telling you the truth, you'll be able to use the ask and discern. And Chloe seems to think this is very important because she's meowing in the background, and she only does that when she's really in soul agreement with it. So your homework is try the ask. Forward for yes, backwards for no. If it's a physical item and not just if you're not asking about a truth of this or that, hold the item near your solar plexus. Give it a try. That's it for tonight. Truly the end of it. Enjoy your homework, okay? If everybody has this ability, let's all hone it, okay? Until next time, good night.